Red Lagoon, to those gathered at the Circle Perilous, and to all the defenders of this broken land. Welcome to episode 21 of Arakko Public Radio for the week of January 4th. We are the Casual X-Men Chat Show, where we chat everything happening in Marvel's Mutants every single week. I'm Rod, and this is the man who did the Kessel run in about a quarter mile, my one and only Co-Mega Mutant, Keegan.
Hey,
How are you?
I am doing good. Been
How's your
spending,
2023 so far?
it's been great. The first week has really just been the end of my winter break. So that's been nice. Been playing a lot of Ghost of Tsushima. Just got to the point where I have stopped trying to press the Saints Row get in the car button when I'm mounting my horse and accidentally slicing my horse. I just got over that, so it's going great.
I have two fun trivia facts for you.
Oh boy.
I tried coming up with a Saints Row related Comega Mutant line, and
Mhm.
also I wrote that, had no idea you were wearing a Millennium Falcon t-shirt. That was
It's
like
true.
a double whammy of cosmic whatever. Very cool.
We love it.
So this week we are talking about X-Men Red number 10, X-Force number 36, Marauders number 10, dipping our toes into the dark web with Gold Goblin number 3, and then going around the Marvel Universe with Scarlet Witch number 1 and Captain America Sentinel of Liberty, I think issue 9, 10.
I think it was 9 or 8, 10.
Might have even been 8, yeah.
Somewhere
Whatever
around
issue it was, I wrote 1 in my notes, but that's a lie.
there.
If you somehow have not checked out our midweek bonus episode, be sure you go back and check that out. We had a full panel discussion. It was every past guest we've had. So it was Joe of X, it was The Broken Record, and it was Uncanny Kin, all jumping on to discuss the X vote, which starts 2 days after we post our episode, starts on the 10th. The vote to decide the next X-Men team, or one member of the next X-Men team. And we all got together and kind of did a round robin who we thought should be the winner of that vote. And somehow, no one agreed with me that it should be soft serve.
I quietly agreed, I think
All right, one person vocally disagreed.
this is true. The Great Ring had greater designs, though, right? We all had
Yes.
our own agendas to push.
Absolutely. And you need to go back and check that out if you missed it.
Absolutely.
Do you want to talk a happy, like, beautiful comic, or a rage-inducing thing that makes me want to punch my computer screen?
Oh man, that's tough. I feel like, do we start strong or do we use the happiness as a reward for getting through the bad part?
I'm okay either way. I think we sandwich the mediocre meh one in the middle either way.
That's fair. You know what? Let's start with X-Force.
All right. I like it because that means I can get my screaming out now. Written by Benjamin Percy, if you can call this writing, and drawn by Robert Gill. Last issue ended with Omega Red and Domino arresting Beast for war crimes. So, of course, this issue opens with the team casually leaving on a mission while giving Beast the silent treatment. The greatest punishment ever. Domino is disguised as a civilian meeting with a member of Xeno trying to sell her Wolverine's heart. They bought it at the auction. How many ever issues ago? Outside, other members of Xeno attack Deadpool and Omega Red, who were supposed to be covering Domino, and the Xeno members reveal that her cover is blown anyways. They all brawl, but when defeated, the Xeno members seemingly just melt. Back at home, Domino finds a scroll, seemingly from Colossus, so she goes to ask him about it, and he straight up denies he was there. After she leaves, we see Colossus fight the mind control he's still under by his brother, Mikhail Rasputin. At another team meeting, they continue giving Beast McInternational Terrorist the silent treatment, but agree to sell a dummy Krakoan egg to lure out the man with the peacock tattoo. The final page reveals that the man with the peacock tattoo is actually a front for a child with pink telepathic powers. All right, but before we get into anything about the kid,
Yeah,
I need to vent a little.
please.
So the team discovers that Beast has, been experimenting on unsanctioned prisoners, both of the human and Iraqi variety, without being sanctioned by Xavier or the Quiet Council or any governmental oversight, just on his own, up there experimenting on him, fatal experiments. We see people die in his experiments. They discover that they've been suspicious of him for a while. Uh, they realize something's up with Wolverine, although we haven't seen them actually address it. So maybe they don't know about the whole Wolverine slave collar thing, although they should. They punish him like middle school girls punish the guy who finds out that, how they punish their friends when they find out that, like, oh, they asked out my crush, so I'm going to give them the silent treatment. Like, that's the level of punishment the silent treatment is. When literally the crimes they caught him for is the shit the Nuremberg trials covered. Like, they are complicit now, whether through ignorance or like in like willful looking the other way. Either way, they are complicit in Nuremberg level crime.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's exactly it, right? You summed it all up. Like, they just hand wave it and they're like, oh, we're going on a mission. And like their big holding Beast accountable is, well, what does Sage say? Well, what does Sage say? I don't know. Like, what was the point of the assault on
the
the
arrest?
prison? Yeah.
Literally bringing back in shackles. You can see what Percy is trying to do there is like, it's all about showing just how obtuse Beast is, just how far deranged he is. So like, we're supposed to be seeing that they're giving him the silent treatment. He doesn't realize what he's being punished for. He doesn't even realize he's done something wrong. The problem is it makes them look like incompetent fools. Like,
Yeah. What's the point? What's the point of building up this character to be such the villain and then have him face like nothing when he does get caught? Is it just to have him be strung along until the next time they can catch him?
I think it's a matter of timing because we know all the other events that are happening currently. So like, I'm assuming he has to make it a certain number of issues before. But the problem is like, the escalations he's doing aren't being met by an escalation of consequences in a way that makes the rest of the island look competent in the slightest. And it's not
Right.
like, I think my other issue is it's not like he has these brilliant plans. He's not like a genius manipulating everyone. He literally is just telling them, hey, act out of character, let me do this thing. And everyone's just saying, okay. Like, we're not being demonstrated that he's some master manipulator. We're just seeing him succeed with really basic manipulation tactics.
Yeah, he's not brilliant. He's dumb. Like, and he's only succeeding because apparently everyone else on the whole damn island is dumb too.
Either the top telepaths on the planet, all living on this island, are completely incompetent, or they're complicit and evil. Like,
Right.
they're either completely willing to let him do it, or they're somehow incompetently blind to it. And neither one of those is in line with what's going on in any of the other books.
Yeah, I just okay. Here's the thing. Here's the thing that bothers me so much, right? We have an event going on where Cyclops is able to reach across space and magic spells and reach a child Jean and be like Jean just by
Right.
thinking it real loud.
Right.
And yet her other lover is just like gone, just off the face of the planet, apparently.
She
And
isn't
she's
on
just
looking
like,
for him at
it's
all.
chill. I don't.
You know what some of our friends would say? Well, Wolverine's not in love with her. He's in love with what's the CIA guy? He's in love with
Right.
Harrington.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
All right, we get into the magic baby, or
Do we want to talk about the magic baby? So do you remember Max? Max, the baby that the kidnapped baby, like early in X-Force, like in the first 10 issues or whatever. So there's the Zeno, the man with the peacock tattoo, from a million years ago at this point. Like, his group had kidnapped little baby that couldn't inquire. Kid Omega was super attached to and like saved at least once because he had similar telepathic powers.
yeah,
So you go back, the kid at the end of this issue clearly had the exact same facial structure, same dimples. Like, it is supposed to be a grown-up version of that baby. But the telepath waves are pink. So common theory seems to be it's literally like Quentin Quire in baby Max's body.
in Child Max's body. How long is supposed to have passed from
Oh,
that?
not very long. So it would be like an artificial aging thing as well.
Okay, that's what I was curious. I was like, okay, so they're also artificially aging this child.
I doubt it's Quentin for only one reason, and it's an out of universe reason.
Mm.
The X Office has been hyping that the next time we see Kid Omega Quentin Quire, it will be epic.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that like the Office has to sell everything that way. So like they get asked about like why haven't we seen Kid Omega? Where's Kid Omega? When is that plot gonna be followed through? They're gonna say, oh, it's because it's in a future story. It's gonna be really big. I fail to see how he stole that baby's body could be sold as this epic story worth waiting for.
Yeah, I mean, I think, maybe if it is Quentin, right? Like, if it is Quentin, then it's going to be like, oh, it's directly related to him taking down Beast or whatever, which people are going to sell as epic, but I'm just going to sell as like about time.
I'm hoping it's something simpler than that, and like it's like because the kid was influenced by Quentin, he's got the same color telepath waves or something. Like,
yeah,
we'll see. Speaking of plots that they left dangling for way too long, and so it's going to be hard to sell us on, we finally saw some Colossus, and apparently he's still fighting Mikhail in his mind.
for a second, I'm not going to lie to you, for a second, I forgot. And I was just like, yo, why is Big Dog punching himself? And then I was like, oh, wait. Right. Gotcha. Okay.
So I'm of two minds. Like I want it. Like I asked a few times on the show in very early episodes. When are we gonna finally deal with that story? With him on the council, I had hoped that maybe we were gonna have Kieran Gillen be the one to land that story instead of. But at least they're dealing with it. At least maybe we'll finally get our real Colossus back within
Eventually.
6 issues, 8 issues, eventually.
Yeah. Maybe somewhere between Sinister and Fall of X.
Well, this book will just keep going through Sins of Sinister, so it could even
True.
be in this next arc. Question for you though: Is it too late to care?
Maybe
Not about Colossus. Like I'm
right.
very excited for whatever he does next after he breaks free of his brother, but it's hard for me to care.
Yeah, like I love Colossus. I want him back, but yeah, I don't really care about the Mikhail aspect of it all.
Yeah, it's hard to like that was a Hickman story and Hickman era thing, and I feel like we are now a full year, like literally as of this week, a full year removed from the very last Hickman thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I feel weird because I like continuity. I like when we keep story elements like alive and that things follow up on each other and you reward long-term readers, but it just feels like a dropped plot they're finally picking up.
Well, because at this point too, like think of all the people that could have jumped on in this year, don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
And now they're just like, what's going on?
Well, I feel the same way about finally paying off the man with the peacock tattoo. Like,
God, right?
That was a tweet meme a year ago that was like, when are we going to ever know who this guy is? Who's the man with the peacock tattoo? I don't know that anyone at this point is still dying to find out. It's too late.
Yeah. At a certain point, like, the fans are just like, it's just a guy.
Well, especially when now he's just a prop for an evil telepath kid.
Yeah.
Is there any... Oh, can Domino not put on her own makeup? What was the Deadpool scene at the beginning?
I don't. I mean, maybe it's as someone who doesn't wear makeup, maybe it's easier if someone does it for you to look that realistic. I don't know.
Also, how many issues ago was it that Omega Red was like straight up trying to kill Deadpool because he was being a nuisance with the Kraven thing? Wasn't that like 4 issues ago?
Like 3 or 4. Yeah.
Now they're so buddy-buddy, Omega Red's going dress shopping at Deadpool's behest.
maybe Sage asked him real nice.
The way it plays out was Deadpool was basically breaking the news to her for the first time that he'd done it. So it seems like it was like a Deadpool Omega Red buddy
Yeah,
adventure to go pick out dresses. I'm not saying that Alyssa Wong should call dibs and get Deadpool out of this book, but I think maybe she should call dibs and get Deadpool out of this book.
honestly.
Marauders number 10, written by Steve Orlando, drawn by Eleonora Carlini. Visually, the fight scenes here are nigh incomprehensible, so you just have to take the characters at their word. But it opens with Kitty Pryde facing strife with Amass, who holds him back so Kitty can escape the Unbreathing and regroup with the Marauders. She reveals that Nightfount is strife and rejoins the war against Sublime and Archaea. Sublime and Archaea seemingly gain the upper hand, but Cassandra Nova offers herself to both. And when they take her, she lobotomizes everyone currently infected by either of them. Literally billions of people. Thea and Tempo sleep together, and then the team gets all together to debrief. Grove, like the leader of the Threshold, is now like a Groot-looking tree creature, and Kitty Pryde shoots Nova in the back and lets the Threshold lock her away forever. The Marauders leave since now Threshold can do its thing being going extinct. Also, Grove announces it wants to be called Okara now. Kitty writes a letter to her father explaining she finally avenged him with Emma's help to trick Cassandra into joining the team by locking away part of Kitty's brain to keep the secret, and then so apparently this entire 10-issue run was one long con to get rid of Cassandra Nova. And then, because they just happen to have their DNA on file, they revive Thea, Amass, and Crave in today's times. So, after whatever it is, 3 or 4 issues of calling them time liars, they're not time liars.
No.
I wish they were time liars.
I
feel like that would have been more interesting.
Yeah, this was messy.
The Okar reveal was some bullshit. Like, I'm so tired of the constant retcons to where, like, mutants started earlier and earlier, and it's always been that way.
Yeah.
It also, like, I don't know that it lines up with the history of a Minth that we already have and all that, but maybe it lines up. I'd have to reread X of Swords, and like there's a good chance it all technically fits, but it makes it sloppy, and I don't like it. I do like, as someone that questioned why Nova was getting such a allowance all along, like I feel like one of our maybe second or third episode we posted was Marauders number 1. And I've been venting for quite a while about the Nova situation, so that was nice to see. Like, I appreciate that. I feel like they strung her along a long time.
Yeah, it was a lot of time and leeway for that, and I was like, yeah, it was good, I guess, but like we waited this long for that.
Well, and I don't know that the reveal of that made up for some of the other reveals or non-reveals.
Yeah.
Like, literally, we got a cliffhanger last issue or the issue before, like, Strife's here, and apparently the payoff of that is the team just decides, I guess Strife's gonna kill him. All right, guys, let's get out of here. Like,
yeah, like what? It was all
here's where I don't understand their rules for tampering with time. So going back and stopping Sublime and Archaea, totally cool. Stopping Strife, not cool. What's the difference? Hell if I know. They can't like save the Threshold, but they can bring back Thea, Amass, and Crave like in the modern day because we have their DNA anyways. But they were literally hanging out with these guys. They could have easily just said like, "Hey, how you spit in a cup?" and then they could have revived them today, and that technically wouldn't have been tampering with time any more than reviving these 3.
I don't either. It makes no sense to me. I'll be honest, I barely liked this more than X-Force.
Yeah. I mean, in a vacuum, I don't know. I feel like I liked other parts of this arc enough that I'm giving it some leeway. The art
That's
has
fair.
gotten worse. The art, I feel
Yeah.
like every issue in this is less comprehensible.
Mm-hmm.
Was
I
Fang
agree.
even in it? I'm not 100% sure.
Um, if my boy was in it, I didn't see him.
Oh, wait, he died, right? So they had to, when they
That's
got
right.
back, they
He
had to
is
revive him. So he
he
probably
is
was in the
dead.
lagoon
So
scenes and whatever. But yeah, like that's the stuff that in this whole arc is just like, who
well, here one of my favorite characters is dead, and I forgot.
cares? Yeah,
That's how Marauders is going for me right now.
yeah. Easily, these two are my least favorite books. Like, I don't
Mhm.
like Wolverine, but I would put Wolverine above Marauders right now. Like, if
Yeah,
like those are the bottom three books, and I think X Force is absolutely my least favorite. But yeah, Marauders is
the
has
worst.
fallen below Wolverine now.
I would agree, especially because like, say what you will about X Force, right? And we can say a lot about how dog shit it actually is, but even though the story is bad, it is comprehensible.
Yeah,
Like, no matter how bad it is, I understand what's going on, even though I don't agree with it or I'm like, it doesn't make sense. I do get what's happening. Whereas, like with Marauders, half the time I'm just like, what? Huh? Am I too dumb to understand Marauders?
I don't, and that's the thing is sometimes when I read a Grant Morrison comic, until I read it a second time, I do feel like I'm too dumb to understand this. I need to like get all the pieces put together. This is just visually and narratively incomprehensible at times.
Steve Orlando, not that guy. And I say that with like a great deal of heaviness in my heart because I am obsessed with Steve Orlando's Midnighter and Apollo runs. Love those.
I remember you
Adore
really
those.
when we started the show, you really were selling
Yeah.
Orlando as that guy, and
You know, sometimes lightning strikes once.
well, also solo books and team
Team
books
books
are
are
a very
different.
different beast. There
Yeah.
are writers that can do both, and there are writers that cannot do both.
You know who else can't write teams is Joshua Williamson.
Yeah, but he also can't write solos that like
No, or events. Fun fact, or events. He can't write. Anyways.
not to go too DC heavy, but it's hard because he did the Black Label Rogues book and I loved it, and
Yeah.
so like I want to give everything he writes a chance, but so much of it is so difficult.
Man, I'll tell you, again, just a quick jaunt into DC territory. I think it was in the Batman versus Robin series that Mark Waid is doing. One of the little notes was like, in the now classic Shadow War event. And I was like, bitch, where? Where is it classic? Like, anyways,
Yeah, yeah. I am liking that Batman vs Robin event, by the way.
it is pretty fun.
All right, are you ready to finally talk
Let's
about a great comic?
let's get happy
Like,
about X-Men again.
like this is perfection, buddy.
Yeah.
Written by His Majesty Al Ewing, drawn by Stefano Caselli. Opens with a Lotus Logos poem describing the Battle of the Autumn Palace between Vulcan and Storm, and somehow, that poem about the soul of Arakko was like more beautiful than anything else I had read this week. Vulcan assures Aurora he is more powerful and demonstrates his might with a blast of solar energy that would put Dragon Ball Z fans to shame. Over at the World Farm, Cable and his team are having a showdown with the progenitors and Orbis Stellaris. John Proudstar wants to start slicing and dicing, but Cora instead helps Cable retrieve the techno-organic virus from whatever containment the progenitors were using. And Weaponless Zin gets all offended at the mutants working together. But regardless, Cable uses the extra virus to build essentially a power suit of sorts. Storm claims that her and Vulcan are evenly matched, but he assures her his flames will never die, while Storm's always abate. At Sword Station 2, Abigail Brand realizes that Mentalo is a spy and nearly kills him, but his boss, Roberto da Costa, shows up. Cable wails on Orbis Stellaris' glowing gold globe, while Manifold gets an assist from Lactuca to send the progenitors as far away as possible because they like close the windows, and so he can't see. And Manifold's powers, he has to be able to see wherever he's sending people. So with Lactuca's ability to see everything, boom, progenitors, bye bye. With the virus in hand and the progenitors dispatched, they leave, assuming Orbis Stellaris is defeated. Empress Xandra and Sunspot interrogate Brand, revealing not only were they one step ahead of her, but that Cable went and got all the evidence to prove it. Unfortunately, she body slides out of there to a top secret base where the Fisher King is waiting for her. He even knows her real name, something she's never shared with anyone, which we need to talk about. Vulcan and Storm fought to a stalemate until Storm reveals she was feigning the whole time. And she hits him with a storm powered by a circuit of her, Wrong Slide, Sabanar, and Lotus Logos to entrap Vulcan in a Mysterium cage. All are equal on Arakko, and teamwork is no longer a weakness. We get Cable's post-action report where he reveals WizKid is now the head of Sword, Zen left on a pilgrimage, and perhaps most importantly, when he asked her to paint Orbis Stellaris, he appeared as a frail Victorian man surrounded by playing cards. The final page then reveals a frail man crawling out of the orb with a spade tattoo on his forehead and calling himself Nathan Essex. Fucking called it.
Yes.
How early did I fucking call? Someone,
called it
listeners,
so long ago.
Listeners, do me a favor. Go back and find the first episode where I mentioned it. I want to know how early I said it because I know I had that early.
You've been on the Orbis Stellaris train for a long time.
I will talk about it in next week, the next week, but all that's left is Hearts, baby, and we got Legion next week. That Mother Righteous thing's coming true.
It's gotta be Mother Righteous.
So let's talk about Orbis though, because one, they did some good hinting early on when he finally talked, and it was like, oh, that's some Essex wit there. Like he had some, like, even in his like, oh please don't, and like things like that. He had some witty things he said. But also he isn't immortal in the same sense because he was the one that chased the space. So he is one frail looking ancient man. And if he'd never left that orb, because I didn't say it in there. So he's like final thing is like, oh, prepare me another orb. This frail old body won't last long. So the implication is he's never left the orb before. What do you imagine it smells like?
Oh, it's awful, obviously.
I am so excited that we got that reveal, and that they're not literally all just because Dr. Stasis just literally looks like Mr. Sinister. So the fact that the different Nathans do look different has me really excited.
Yeah, that is nice because it also lends more credence to the Mother Righteous theory. Because they don't all have to look the same.
I feel like every time he appears, I say this, but Fisher King might be the greatest character created in the last like 5 years.
Fisher King is so cool.
How is he so badass?
He's so
every
cool.
time he appears.
Absolutely.
Also, I know we haven't been told explicitly what his power is, but have you noticed a trend with him in names? So, like, I don't remember how exactly they phrase it, but he talked at one point about like that his own name was excised from his brain while he was in prison to save him or something. Like it was a weird cryptic thing about names then, and like he's been on another plane of existence for most of Abigail Brand's life, and yet he knows her real name like instantly. Like he's got some shit going on with names, and he's just so badass.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm wondering if like that's part of his like gift, right? It's just like knowing someone's true name,
right? But like, is that like, what does that mean? Like,
yeah, what are the implications of that?
Yeah,
because it's cool, and I love it, and he keeps being as cool as possible, especially because like, yeah, I don't know, I love Fisher King.
What I love that we're not told what he does, just your road ends here, and then boom, like cut away. Ewing is a poet. Like I can't figure out how he always phrases everything so perfectly. Like, is the man also like? Does he do books of poetry? I gotta know because there's a lyrical quality to everything he writes.
It's absolutely. So I mean, and he does Logos quite the the service and being able to write actual poetry very well.
I think the running theme of this book that I think this is the heaviest that's been hit, but has been running of like mutant circuits being everything in X-Men Red
Mm-hmm.
is such a beautiful message and such a cool way it's played out here. What is it specifically? Wrong Slide creates the chamber where Sabinar like gathers the molten liquid, and then Lotus Logos uses the Mysterium. Like just the
Yeah.
combination is so cool, and we got to see Wrong Slide.
Yeah.
I'm so glad he's getting used and used in a prominent way.
Mm-hmm.
I
No, I love the circuits, like just the use of that and it being a thing that was frowned upon on
yeah.
Arakko, and now it's like almost a defining feature of
Well, I don't even think
Arakko.
like frown on might be underselling it. Like it was more or
Very
less
true.
forbidden, right? And
Yes, yes, that is.
that's why Zen is so offended by not even a full circuit, just lending a little bit of help to Cable, and she's just so offended by her sister. And so seeing literally Storm and Lodos like changing the entire culture of this ancient civilization is really, really cool. This book does stuff I I can't remember a time I've been this attached to a book. This is so beautiful every issue. We talked about how every issue is better than the last for like 4 issues, and then it had like a leveling off, and like this might be a new peak. Like the fight was
Absolutely.
insane. The fight didn't surprised me. I thought we were gonna get like a true knockdown drag out fight, and I'm so glad we didn't. I'm glad
Mm-hmm.
that it closed the
I
way it did.
I agree, and like like you said, we're hitting like another peak, and it's like maybe not every issue has a reveal as big or like a moment as big as some of the moments, but it spreads out like these great moments enough to raise it to that level. Because like I don't think there will be a page that hits me as hard as
Magneto
Magneto
with
with
her.
the hole in his, like that
Of course not. Yeah.
that goes hard. It's cold as hell. Like it's just good. But all of the things in this book, like this issue this week, were still so good that I consider it on that same level.
It's a masterwork. Every time I want to be like, you know what, maybe maybe Immortal is the better book, and then Ewing comes in with the like chair
Yeah.
to the back of the head, like, no, it's me, dog.
Yeah, he catches in his money in the bank briefcase. Ugh.
uh, I do want to chat Wrong Slide a little,
Sure.
less about this issue, but seeing him prominent again now that you can revive original personality Rock Slide. Are we ever going to, or is that ever like? I want to see the two meet the personality created by that weird shit that was going on with Avalon and the original personality. I want them, even if it has to be like in an Infinity comic, because it doesn't fit any of the main books, because there's a moral quandary that is brought up by the resurrection protocols that we haven't seen, because they love to address the different moral quandaries over in X-Men next week. We're going to talk about the what if two versions already exist with two sets of memories, because we're going to have the
Mhm.
two Lauras. Well, this is another one. What if you've got a distinct personality that was created by a malfunction? Do you just not bring back the original at all? Do you bring back the original as a separate entity? Do you force Wrong Slide to fight in the what's the Coliseum in Krakow, where like you fight
Mhm.
to get the right to be revived again? Like, because then you get into the Star Trek dilemma of like do you kill one personality to bring back the other? And seeing Wrong Slide being a badass reminded me how much I need payoff of that. I need payoff of the fact that there's two distinct personalities now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's gonna be interesting. I think between this and between the Wolverines,
Yeah.
we're gonna have some interesting things to answer for.
And we need to do it before Fall of X, because I still feel like while Krakoa is not going to end, like Fall of X is going to be a fundamental shift somehow, and I want these questions answered.
Oh, me too. I can't have another man with peacock tattoo nonsense going on.
I care way more about this than the man with the peacock tattoo.
That's what I'm saying. I can't. I don't want it to take so long that I stop caring about Wrong Slide. Like.
So the issue ends with Storm talking about the Brotherhood, which of course
Mhm.
after this issue, this book is being retitled Storm and the Brotherhood of Mutants. We don't know, or we should find out in a few weeks what the books, when they come back in April, the books from Sinister are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Do we think this is just coming back as X-Men Red 11 and continuing? Like, this felt like this could have been a climax. Are we getting another, like, change up? Is it going to go back to being Sword, follow WizKid more? Is it going to be... What do you imagine this book becomes?
That's a great question. I don't know. I mean, I think that there's still a lot to do with it being, like X-Men Red, but I also could see, it being more sword focused going forward and becoming like a sword, but I don't know.
Well, because really, X-Men Red picked up a lot of threads from the last time Al Ewing wrote Sword. Was it 5 or 6 issues?
Right.
So I could see them shuffling the names again, where it's really continuing the same story. Kind of like I imagine, like Legion was a continuation of Way of X. I could see them doing that again, or I could see them just picking them up after Sins of Sinister. I will I if was the swan song, if this was the swan song for X-Men Red, it might go down as one of the greatest unbroken runs of X-Men ever.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
good.
I mean, 10 unstoppably good issues in a row.
Yeah. There was not a
Like,
weak one.
yeah. Like just 10 bangers straight.
In his note at the end, we found out that John Proudstar basically told Cable to fuck off, that he wasn't gonna. So that kind of killed my hopes for like Cable leading a new Space X Force kind of book.
Yeah, unfortunately. But still good moment.
I would love for them to come back from Sins of Sinister and Al Ewing to double down. Give us two, because the guy can write the X-Men. So give us one Arakko book and give us like Cable Sword book. Like split those two. Now that the two came together to like stop Abigail, like
Yeah.
those plots can re-diverge and give us not 20 pages of Al Ewing greatness in the X-Men every month, but give us 40 pages of Al Ewing greatness every
I
month.
mean, absolutely. If Benjamin Percy can write 2 shitty books a month, Al Ewing can write 2 great books a month.
Well, it seems like Venom is slowing down. Maybe Rom is writing more of those issues now. So Al's got some free time.
Yeah, theoretically.
Depending on what else he's doing, but still.
Yeah.
That's my dream for the end of Sinisters, whatever that relaunch is going to be, or maybe they wait till Fall of X to relaunch, but whatever the next relaunch is, that's the dream. 2 Ewing ongoings.
I would love that. I really would.
We didn't really talk much about the actual Storm Vulcan exchange. They had some verbal sparring that was pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Vulcan was confident.
Too confident.
Yeah. So with the progenitors defeated, because they're the ones that kind of warped Vulcan's mind, right? So, and they're now off. So if he gets freed, is Vulcan back to normal? Like, is he in that prison of? Does he stay whatever? Like, I don't understand the ways they manipulated him. I guess.
Yeah, I don't know that I really know the ways that he was manipulated to that extent, right? Like, I don't.
Well, and I mean, it was left vague intentionally originally, and I guess that's the one thing this issue doesn't pay off for me is that I thought this arc would maybe get into more what their game plan was or what they actually did to him,
but seems not so much. But I'm just looking over again Vulcan and Storm having their sparring match of words. It's just so good. Yeah.
Well, like the way Ewing writes his unbound like confidence that Vulcan is so sure he's going to come out on top, and Storm is like a subdued, almost like she's lacking confidence. But you realize as it goes on just how much of a feint it was, and that like she really knew all along how easy it would be to overtake him.
Oh yeah,
it's just so well done.
I mean, just the moment where he's so sure of himself, he's literally just firing down upon her, and he asks, "What do you have left?" And she just says, "The rope-a-dope." I was like, "Yo, let's go!" I was so excited. I was like, "What a cool moment!"
So with Magneto gone and Storm now leading the Brotherhood, what does Xavier like think of his student using the Brotherhood name, or I guess maybe because he and Magneto were such good friends there at the end. It's just such an interesting, again, thing we may never see pay off, but there's such implications there that they could mine at some point.
Oh yeah. I mean, they could really do a lot with that. Even a thing of, Storm, telling Charles like it's all about Magneto, like he was right.
Okay, speaking of thing to be mined, and this isn't aside from this book, but I feel like before I go into my side, was there anything else you wanted to chat on, Red?
No, I think we're good.
All right, we'll close Red. Something I brought up on the Arakko Public Radio Discord, which you should all join in the note below, or the show notes. I guess not everyone has them visually because we're an audio podcast too. In the
That's
show
true.
notes, the Discord server, I asked if I had missed, if it had ever been explained how Xavier and Magneto came up with a structure for their brand new government before they went and recruited everyone to be on the government of Krakoa that happened to mirror exactly the ancient Arakkan uh, government structure, because they both have, the four sections of three seats that are themed, one around seasons, one around parts of the day. Uh, it just seemed like too big of a coincidence. And did anyone know that it had ever been explained? And there was lots of great possible explanations, but it was no one could quote something exactly. And then someone else pointed out that Orcus petal structure, just because Hickman loves his symmetry, is also like the petals in the ring. So see payoff to that, like even if it is as simple as like Krakoa, like they consulted Krakoa, like and Krakoa was the one that suggested it. It's such an interesting thing I never thought about, because it narratively it was just symmetry, and Hickman loves his symmetry, and like, but narratively once we learned more about what Arakko was and its ancient history, and like that the great ring has been around for thousands of years. The Quiet Council was an idea that Xavier just came up with the beginning of Krakoa, and they happen to be identical, is really, really strange. I made the metaphor that it would be as if, like, on two separate sides of the planet, countries came up with, you know what? Let's do this democracy thing. And they specifically came up with bicameral legislatures with 100 seats in one chamber and 435 in the other. Like, that's how specific the Quiet
Right.
Council and Arakko Great Ring structures are. So it doesn't make any sense to be a coincidence. So I'm hoping at some point someday that story is told.
Mm-hmm.
Total aside, sorry, it just came up on the Discord, and it's something that has now in my mind infested. Like, what would be the coolest answer there? And I don't know. I don't know what the coolest answer would be. I guess
Hopefully,
maybe,
we get the coolest answer.
I mean, it could be as simple as, oh, Moira suggested it, but there's got to be more there.
I would like Moira to stop being a hand wavy answer to
Yeah.
certain things.
Yeah. Anyways, would you like to come with me into my dark web?
Yeah. Yeah, let's
Here we
let's
are
do
in the
it.
dark web to talk about Gold Goblin. Was it 3?
Yeah, 3.
So, Norman Osborn still really wants to be a good guy, but it's hard to be a good guy when you've got not the Goblin Queen, but the Queen Goblin coming after you. Oh, also, he references at one point that, oh, the forces of Limbo are out there, and I'm pretty sure that's the only way this ties into Dark Web at all.
Yeah, like, what does this have to do with Dark Web?
I swear, it's that they had to rush through this book to get to Red Goblin, because we have to have Norman stay good before Normie Osborn can become whatever he becomes when Carnage gets him. So they had to rush this out, and it was just, oh, that's gonna be when Dark Web's happening. Let's slap the Dark Web logo on there. That's the only thing I can think of.
It's the only thing that makes sense.
Also, in general, I feel like Cantwell writes stories I like. Like, I didn't mind the story here.
Yeah.
But his dialogue is so unapproachable for me. Like,
Yeah.
I don't buy that any of these people are actually saying things.
No, absolutely. Like the dialogue was just, I don't, nah.
Yeah. Scarlet Witch, Captain America, Sentinel of Liberty. Which one you want to chat about?
Doesn't matter.
All right. I really liked Captain America, so let's burn through Scarlet Witch first.
Sure.
That Sarah Pacelli art is gorgeous.
Yeah.
She can draw a comic.
No, it was a beautiful book.
The story might be the single most average story ever. Like, there was nothing that particularly bothered me. It wasn't offensive in any way.
No, if the story was a spice, it would be flour. Like, it was so bland.
Like, it is to me the definition of MCU synergy. That's
The
the only reason it
Darcy-
exists.
The
Yeah.
Darcy of it all really hit that.
I included it originally on our list of like, hey, we're gonna read that, and because there has been hints out there that it's gonna somehow retcon the retcon, and Magneto will be her dad again at some point. And if that happens, we will talk about it again. I don't know that we're even gonna around the universe it if that doesn't happen. Like, this is an Avengers solo book through and through, and it Captain America: Sentinel of Liberty, though, I've been loving this series anyways, and they found the best way to bring Emma in. I loved this issue. So, for those not following Captain America: Sentinel of Liberty, he's fighting a new shadowy organization that has been ruling the world all along, and like his shield is their logo, so he's been manipulated by them and has to take them down. And their latest thing is that he was running and then woke up and he's in the middle of the field in Kansas. So this issue opens with him running to a nearby gas station, making an ominous phone call of like, hey, can you, and I'm in a gas station outside this little town. Oh, you sure know your stuff. Boom. Revealed that it was Aaron Fisher, the Captain America of the Railways from 2021's the United States of Captain America, and that he used his network of trains to smuggle all of Steve Rogers' allies to the same location. I love it. We haven't seen the guy since the miniseries. One of the coolest designs in recent years, for sure. My lefty like heart has just grown so attached to him fighting for homeless youth, and like that's his thing as he sticks up for the rail kids. But anyways, the way it becomes the next book is they all realize that they all have the same 3 days missing, and they all have a subdermal scar, like someone's been tampering with their brains, and that's why like they wake up and they're in different locations. And there's a dome over New York is cut off from the world by AIM. So they have Emma Frost come to unlock their memories, essentially. And she's drawn absolutely gorgeous. Like we talked last week about how badly drawn she was in that one book, and I feel like they've been making up for that like every week with a here's a great shot of her. And yeah, Peggy Carter is like super resistant to letting her in, and Emma's just like, that's all right, I could do it with just the rest of you. And so they have a communal memory where it's revealed that it was a new version of MODOK, and that's a gorgeous 2-page panel. Like this book, if you're not reading Captain America: Sentinel of Liberty and you can fit one more ongoing on your list, like I was shocked how much I loved this series when it first started, because I'm a Sam Wilson guy. I thought I'd be way more into Symbol of Truth, and this book is the first book I've really loved Steve Rogers since Brubaker. I am so in on Sentinel of Liberty. But anyways, the Emma Frost usage was minimal. It was literally just her coming in to help him figure out what had happened. But it was that is the way you do a cameo. Great stuff. What did you think of it? I'm sorry I rambled.
No, it's great. I loved it. So the whole book is great. I love the whole book. Captain America: The Rails. It was my favorite part of the United States of Captain America. It's why I was so into the idea of the United States of Captain America. If you followed me on TikTok way back when I was talking about it,
that was like a full year before I joined TikTok, by the way.
Yeah, it was a long time ago, but I was talking about it and I was super excited because I am a folk punk listener, because I don't like good music, but but I love folk punk, and so part of that whole community is jumping trains and stuff. So I was very excited for that to just kind of be part of it. So very excited to have him coming into the fold on this. But then just Yeah, the use of Emma was fantastic. I got a great laugh over the fact that he just had to think the word mommy really loud. Um,
So good. So good.
Same.
Yeah.
And she shows up to help out. I thought that was fantastic. It's just, it gives me hope and excitement for her inclusion in Iron Man.
Yeah. I had been wondering how this was gonna work with the Iron Man.
Yeah.
Like, she was gonna be in the two books right after each other like this, and it made a lot more sense once we saw the way it played out here. But
Hmm.
clearly, they have plans for Emma going forward, and they want her to get exposure in other books. And this, I love it. The more Emma, the better.
It's,
Give
yeah,
me that White Queen.
absolutely. I mean, there's a skeptic in me that is saying, like, if they're including her in the Captain America book and in the Iron Man book, then they're just ramping up that MCU synergy because they want to have Emma be prominent in the X-Men movies that they're going to have to make. uh, we'll see.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about MCU synergy in the X-Men. We had a depressing conversation about it in the Discord server earlier. That
We did.
I don't want that to happen. I don't want
No,
I don't want the reversion. We keep
no,
Krakoa.
absolutely. But there's a part of me that, like, kind of wondered that as they're doing it more and more.
I You're making sense. But we'll deal with that when we come to it.
Yes.
What we have to deal with is what's coming out next week.
Yes.
X-Men 18. So the first of, I think, 3 Dugan issues we get this month, but this is the one where we get to see our buddy old woman Laura. So I'm excited. Less excited, Wolverine 29, and the granddaddy, the one that should give us the last piece of the Sins of Sinister puzzle. Although there is one more immortal the next week, but still, it should be the last big reveal. Legion of X number 9, where theoretically, hopefully, Mother Righteous is revealed as the 4th Sinister and seals my very early theory as correct with the assist of Joe.
Yes. I'm excited for it. I'm hoping that that's what we get. I'm thinking that's what we're gonna get. So we'll see what happens.
I think that's a safe assumption. I do want to give a little further theory that may or may not be the route they're going. But do you remember he told Destiny that when his wife died, he excised the weakness of love and compassion?
Mm-hmm.
What if Mother Righteous is the one good Essex? Because
Oh,
her manipulations all seem to be helpful and not hurtful. So
yeah.
what if the heart Essex isn't a villain?
Interesting.
Is that plausible?
I
I mean,
mean,
it could also be just as likely that just manipulating things in a different way. But
yeah, it absolutely could be. Yeah, I mean, it certainly it could be like a clone of Essex.
well, because we know it's one of the 4 clones because we saw the 4 chambers in the Immortal flashback. But I feel like that is so something Cy Spurrier would like
Mhm.
relish in getting to tell, is that he literally excised his heart. I don't know. I think it's a possibility.
I definitely think it's a possibility. What if the heart is a Rebecca Essex clone that he tampered with?
Possible. I could see that.
I mean, his heart, Rebecca being his heart.
That would be really interesting. The
Just
only the
throwing
only
it out there.
the only hesitation I'd have is, did we actually because the Immortal issue, she was long dead, right?
Believe
So
so.
like we remember recently seeing her because we went back and read Cyclops and
Right.
Phoenix book. But I feel like we would have seen, like, they would have hinted at her recently. Maybe not though. Now I'm curious. It'll be interesting to see.
It,
Who is
it,
she?
it very well could just be my mind is tainted by the going back and reading that further
No,
adventures.
I'm not trying to doubt your theory. I'm just
No.
working it through in my head. I definitely would enjoy that.
Yeah, I just because like to me, it's like the only thing is it's not that it's beyond him or anything, right? Like, why wouldn't he have a clone of his wife that he tampered with?
Right.
You know, that kind of thing. So
Completely. Well, and it just seems weird for such a misogynist that he'd be essentially cross-dressing. So
mhm,
I don't know.
who knows?
I
Maybe
definitely
I'm just
possible.
you know I'm just gonna say it that way. If it happens, then I am the smartest man alive, and
Fair enough. I have to break it to you.
yeah,
That's not it for next week. There
no,
is also not one, not two, but three dark web tie-ins.
yeah, that's a pinfall if you ask me. Uh, what are they though? What are the tie-ins? Do we know?
None of them are super important.
Oh,
It's
okay,
well, I
cool.
mean, super important to us. It's Amazing
Yeah.
Spider-Man. It's the Mary Jane, and I want to say it's the Miss Marvel. So it's like,
Oh, okay, cool. So it's just going to be like two mid books, and then hopefully Mary Jane is good again.
hopefully Mary Jane's good again. All right. Anything else you want to chat about?
I think that's it for me. How about you?
I think that's going to do it for us. As I mentioned earlier, after some peer pressure, we have a Discord server. Join us to chat. Our tight knit community is new. There's minimal stuff on there, but it is kind of been growing this week. It's already
Mm-hmm.
getting a lot more chatter in there. And when this episode goes live, uh, I'm going to put a discount code for our new store that I haven't even revealed on here yet. I'm going to reveal it here next episode. But you can see our store in the Discord and get a 10% discount code. That's right.
Nice.
Make sure you like us, review us on all the places, follow us, and if nothing else, tell a friend who you think might enjoy it. That Nerdy Papa Bear on all the socials. Keegan is Bulk Ranger. Make sure you check out all the other crossover comics shows. There's Crossover Comics Podcast. There is Color Break, where I will be on next week's episode. And Amalgam Talks, which has just launched and is our buddy Birdboy Grayson. Great one-on-one chat show he's doing. All three worth checking out. And finally, remember, if your friends commit war crimes, stop talking to them.